It's a long road from Mustad to Toho. Doesn't matter which way you go, the miles are all the same. When you finally get there, when you pull the cover off, then it's time to get a little bit lost out on the lake. Gonna bag this boat into the water, find a way to win a couple dollars. Weatherman says there's a cold front coming down. Bring it on, I've seen it all by now. I can catch them shallow, I can catch them deep. Open water or the back of the creek. The wind and rain to me, it's all the same. I make a living playing this game, and I thank the Lord above every time I can. I get to be a fisherman.
All right, guys, we're back at Rose Outdoors. Today's show is going to be a little bit different. We had today scheduled to go out and fish, and terrible weather out there, sleet and rain systems coming in. So we're going to do something different, and I'm going to talk about hooks today and crankbaits. We've been posting a few things here lately about springtime hooks. I made a post a couple weeks ago, and I got some phone calls and I got a couple emails about, okay, which hook do you put on this bait and that bait? And I thought on the next rainy day, I'd just get in my shop and go through hooks. This is a perfect time because I'm kind of transferring some of my stuff from other boxes over to Bass Mafia boxes, and I was literally dealing with my hooks this morning, so I wanted to just dive right into hooks on crankbaits and what sizes. I have a lot of guys ask me, so what size hook do you put on a 6XD? Or what size hook do you put on a 5XD and a 1.5? And I'm gonna go kind of in depth about hook sizes, diameter, wire, and bites, and triple grips, and round bends, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna dive right in. Crankbaits is one of the things that I'm throwing a lot right now, lipless crankbaits. And these two baits right here have seen a lot of action here in the last few trips out. And if you'll notice, okay, I'll start with the smaller. I've got a red eye shad here, and we have three different sizes. We have the small 1/4 ounce, we have a 1/2 ounce, which is right here, and we have a 3/4 ounce. I don't have one of those out, but we can still talk about it. And on a Strike King red eye shad, the hook size, I'm not real sure if it's a 6 or a 5, maybe something along those lines. What I like to do is I like to go up a size, and that's why I really like Mustad KVD Elite Trebles, for a few reasons. One is the pull point with that triple grip. Once they get hooked, man, they're pinned. That triple, once with that turn in the way it is, and it's more like a hybrid. There's other ones that turn in a little bit more, but the triple grip is kind of right in between. It's got a short shank on it. It's got a 1X strong wire, meaning it doesn't do a lot of flexing, and I don't want a lot of flex on a crankbait hook that I'm throwing, say, 14-pound line or heavier on. I'm gonna be turning, I'm gonna be pulling out of grass a whole lot, putting a lot of, muscle behind my hook sets and stuff like that, ripping it out of grass and all that. If you use too light of a hook diameter, then it'll straighten out. So I really like the KVD Elite Trebles, again, on anything that I'm throwing, say 14-pound line or up to 20, which 1.5s and lipless crankbaits and things like that. So I go up to a size 4 KVD Elite Treble on a 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait. My favorite is the 1/4 ounce red eye shad. Whatever your favorite vibrating or lipless crankbait is, then a 1/4 ounce, use a size 4 KVD Elite Treble. It helps you go up one size in bite, giving you a bigger hook, and and yet it still, you know, the hook hangers, how far they are apart are a big deal. And the red-eye shad are far enough apart to where you can go up a size 4 and still the hooks won't hang. You can't get those hooks to hang together. If you can't be efficient, if you're always having to unhook the hooks together, then you don't have an efficient setup. All right, let's go up to the regular 1/2 ounce. It's got grass all over it. This is one of my favorite baits to throw in January, February, early March. I like the crawdad patterns, and then I like a chrome, and as you can tell, I like to scrape a little bit of that chrome off of there and make it bone right in the middle. I noticed so many times down through the years, whenever the old rattle traps, before Strike King ever came out with a red eye, we would all throw rattle traps in the beginning. Well, they would eat up, the fish would just eat the paint, the chrome off of them, and when you had that bone shining through, man, I really liked that. So I take them and scrape them off now and give it a more natural kind of something different, where it goes from chrome to bone, and it gives a little bit more flash, and it looks real natural. But I like on this bait to throw a size 2. Again, it comes with 4s. I get to go up a size, and if you notice, I can't hook my hooks together. They're, you know, it's not so close to where they hook together on a cast. So I can go up to a size 2 with my Strike King red eye shads, 1/2 ounce. On a 3/4 ounce, I go to a 1. Again, they come with 2s, and hook sizes are like 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, and so on. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm throwing a 2. Well, just remember there's a difference between a 2 and a 2/0. So make sure you get that down. But go up a size when you're using KVD Elite trebles, and it'll help you with your hookup ratio. With square bills, like a 1.0 is the smallest crankbait in our square bill lineup. Well, with this one, as you can see right here, I go to 4s. I can put a 4 on that bait, and this bait comes with like 5s, I think. And you can put 4s on there. They don't get hooked together. Hook hangers are far enough apart where they don't get hooked together. And man, I've caught some giant fish on this. Is a dynamite little crankbait. 1.0, that's, you know, a lot of times they feed on forage like that, and that's an awful good crankbait. And before, if you're worried about fishing in a big fish area and losing them with those 5s, now you got a much bigger hook. You can land a big old fish with a size 4 KVD Elite trebles. Now, let me back up and say, I also use in the cold winter time, like right now, whenever I'm really slow moving bait, sometimes I'll use a flat-sided bait, or I'm working baits really slow and I'm wanting to use lighter line, finesse them, water's cold, in the 40s. That's the time whenever I'll go to just a round bend. Now this is a regular wire, it's a KVD round bend treble hook. It's got the regular diameter wire, a little more finesse type wire. And when the fish are jumping, I really like this. It keeps them pegged a little better. When they're not jumping, water's cold, you know, you're cranking in the wintertime, and those fish just, you know, giving those subtle little pulls, that's when I really like this hook right here. It comes in all the same sizes as well. So if you like throwing flat-sided crankbaits, or more smaller, finessier stuff like the 1.0, even the 1.5, but you're throwing it on 8, 10-pound line, go to the more of the round bend hook. You get a little bit better hookup ratio with that. It's a little, it has that bite that's not turned in. If they're just swatting at it, that might help you, which they do a lot of times in the winter. They'll just kind of swat at it or get out of the way of it. A lot of times you can hook them with the regular round bend. Hook bite size is, or how much bite you have on a bait is really important. Anytime you're throwing a bait and it looks like your hook is way too small for that bait, stop, because that's a disaster. that's a recipe for losing that fish, especially in a tournament situation, and even fun fishing. I love to crappie fish. And I really like how Strike King uses, okay, I got a crappie fishing rod right here with a crappie jig on. Strike King puts size 2s on their a lot of people use 4s on their crappie jigs, whereas like this Strike King Lightning Shad's my favorite bait to throw in the wintertime. It doesn't have a lot of action. That 2 in there gives plenty of bite, and I can catch a really big crappie with that. If you throw a 6 or a 4, man, that's just an awful small bite. But yet also, I really like to throw, for if I'm around big fish, it won't catch the numbers of crappie, but I really love this bait right here for catching bigger crappie, and that's a 2.75 Strike King Rage Swimmer. And I will actually take them, and I will get Mustad hooks, and I'll take it off here where I can hold it up close to the, but if you can see, I've got a crappie, hang on, I'll be right back. I've got a jig head right here with the 2 on it, and then I've got one with a 1 on it, and you can tell that's a little bit bigger. This one is a little bit bigger bite, just a little bit, not very much. And so I get these poured with a 1, and that for a little bit bulkier bait than this bait, the Lightning Shad, I want just a little bit bigger hook. So even with crappie fishing, it's important. Bass fishing, okay, a rage bug is one of my favorite baits to flip and throw on a swing head. Pretty good little piece of, it's a chunky little piece of plastic, but it's not too big. It's perfect size for bluegill or crawfish. Well, I like throwing a 4/0 KVD grip pin hook. It's absolutely perfect, the size for this bait. Once I bury it, Texas rig it, and bury the hook back in, I got plenty of bite there. When that bites down, I got plenty enough to get a good bite. Well, I also like throwing this bait on a swinging, let me back up and say, if you were throwing it on a 2/0 or 3/0, that's too big a piece of plastic for that smaller hook. So go up a size whenever you're throwing bulkier plastics, and go down a size whenever you're throwing smaller plastics. I love throwing a swing head, and I really like throwing this bait on a swing head. So that's why I choose to throw Strike King's tour grade tungsten swinging football head, I think is what it's called. It's because I can add my own hook to it. They're not pre-rigged with a molded hook with just a, the curve up at the top, because a lot of times, especially with smallmouth, but largemouth too, they'll come up and they'll pull that bait off of your swing head, and then it gets balled up down there on the hook, and you get the wrong bite. So I really like this hook, because when I put it on that swing head, I got that grip pin right there to keep it hooked on, and man, it just stays on a swing head really good. So that's why I like using the Strike King head, where I can add my own hook, this hook, and then I can go down. I love throwing a menace on a swing head as well. I can go down to a 3/0, and that is perfect for a menace. So what I'm trying to get at, the point I'm trying to make is match your hook. That's really important with the bait that you're throwing. If you're throwing rage swimmers, this bait in the 3.25 or the 3.75, whatever, make sure that your head, you got a big enough bite on that hook. If you're using too small of a bite, you're not going to get a very good hookup at all. And also, there's times whenever I have a big crank, on a 6XD and on a 10XD, like this, these are heavy baits, okay? I forget that. I mean, it's like an ounce, and I don't even know how much weight this is, but it's over an ounce on a 10XD. Well, in the hot summertime, when I'm long lining, deep cranking, whatever, with a 10XD, and those fish are jumping a whole lot back there, that's the time on a 6XD and a 10XD, especially when they're jumping a lot and I'm losing them, that's the time I'll even take one step farther and go to a double split ring. Mark Davis taught me this trick a long time ago, and it's really helped me improve my hookup ratio on 6XDs and 10XDs. Is when they're jumping, double split ring them, and that's basically just putting 2 split rings on there. And what that does with a regular right out of the package 10XD, and when the fish hooks it, you can only make a 180 rotation. It won't rotate all the way around because it gets torque right there, and it won't. Whereas with this hook, that fish can rotate all the way around 360 degrees, and no matter how he jumps and what have you, this is a heavy bait, and if he jumps just right, whenever it turns in 180, if it catches it, he can blow it out, or he can shake it off. Whereas with this, it's harder to shake because it gives with him the whole time. It's almost like having a wire attached to the bait to the fish, because he can't shake it. He can't use the leverage from the bait to shake it off. Sometimes in hooks, the only exception where on crankbaits I wouldn't go to the heavier wire on a smaller bait. I want to back up and really make this point is if you're throwing really light, say balsa baits, or you're throwing a really light bait like the KVD Splash, the junior size, if you try to put too much weight on that bait with your hook, using say a 2X wire, be careful with that. Try to stick with the regular size wire on smaller baits, because it'll pull that bait down in the water and it won't be as effective. It'll even make bait sink. If you're using a suspending jerk bait like this and you try to put too big of a wire diameter on your hook, it'll actually make the bait sink and not be as effective, or not let it perform in the way that it was designed to perform. So be careful on jerk baits. I like using just a regular wire, unless it's say a bigger jerk bait, the biggest size like this. On the 100, and then in the 2-hook version of this, I would not throw a 2X wire. On this one, I can get away with it because look how big the more plastic, the bigger the plastic. You can't make this bait sink hardly because it's so buoyant. The bigger the plastic of the bait, the more buoyant it's going to be. The less plastic that you have on a bait, the less buoyant it's going to be. So if you try to add too much weight to a less buoyant hook, it's going to affect the action of the bait. So even on, when I say molding your crappie jigs to a bigger size, that's the hook. That's the hook that you want to use. Just this is a Mustad size 1, 32746 NP black nickel. That's the hook that you want to get poured. If you want to say a bigger, you can even go up to a 1/0 right here. On soft plastics, like say if you're Carolina rigging, I really love the Mustad round bend worm hook, but I like it with the grip pin. That's why I love Mustad's version of this. Several years ago, I was really requesting a round bend with the grip pin. They came out with it. It's my new favorite Carolina rig hook. I love the round bend hook. Anytime I'm casting a big worm, throwing a Carolina rig or what have you, I love the grip pin. If you put, say, a fat baby finesse worm on this 1/0 or 2/0, it just won't put, those smallmouths can come up to it and pull it all they want. They can't pull it off. And that's a worm that I really like to throw on a Carolina rig. Or let's say a game hog, or the junior version of the rage bug. You can put them on here. It won't pull. With the round bend, it's got the regular diameter hook, and it doesn't have the extra strong. You be careful with that because it'll pull your bait down. It's just not quite as natural looking. So make sure whatever you're fishing with, make sure that you got the right gap on there. Even if you're wacky worming, if you got the Titan X Nico hook, whether you're throwing it in the weedless version or the regular. I like throwing smaller size. I don't, you know, people say, well, a 1 is an awful small hook. Well, yeah, but look at the bite. I mean, a lot of times you catch a fish on a crankbait with one of the sections of a treble hook, a 3-prong treble hook. You'll just have it on one little deal, okay? So if you got, this is a size 4, look how big the bite is on a size 1 in an eco hook. So you got, I mean, it's plenty big enough to catch a giant fish. A 10-pounder, you catch on that easy. But if I go to like a 2-aught, then man, it doesn't let my bait perform properly. If you're crappie fishing and using an Aberdeen hook with a minnow, my granddad used to catch more crappie than me, always minnow fishing. 2 things he would do. He would throw a smaller hook. He was throwing like a 1, 2, 1-aught even, and he was tying a loop knot on his crappie jig. What that does is it allows the minnow to move around more effectively, giving more action, and that's what it does for your baits. The lighter you can go, it gives your baits a little better action. However, if you've got plenty of buoyancy and that's with worm hooks and things like that, if you've got plenty of buoyancy and it's not affecting it, go with as big a bite as you can, because it'll help your hookup ratio. So that's pretty much a rundown on hook diameters, and I hope those little tips help you. Anytime you're out there fishing, check out your hooks. Make sure when you got a rainy day like it's starting to clear off. We may get to go fishing for another episode of Rose Outdoors, because it's clearing up out there. But anytime you're fishing, make sure you got the correct bite on your hook. Make sure on your crankbaits and your topwater baits and your jerk baits and things like that you got the right hook for the right application. Good luck, God bless you, and good fishing.